Yo, the goat of gymnastics just admitted she almost left this earth, and she dropped the receipt with a hospital wristband still strapped to her wrist. Simone Biles said the words, "Almost dying wasn't on my bingo card," and the whole internet froze mid-scroll. And while that bomb is going off, Cardi B is across town burying Akbar V without lifting a single bar. Just a smirk and a "you can die watching me win." Akbar really woke up, hopped on Cardi's OWN beat, and signed her own career death certificate. Before we get into it, subscribe, don't miss it. Nah? Yo, I gotta tell you something. I've been doing this breakdown thing for a while now, and it is rare that two stories drop in the same news cycle and both of them make my jaw hit the floor. But this week was different. This week was biblical. We got Simone Biles, the goat of gymnastics, the 7-time Olympic gold medalist, the woman who literally rewrote the physics of what a human body can do, telling you she almost died. And in the same 48-hour window, we got Akbar V from Atlanta hopping on Cardi B's own beat trying to bury her, only for Cardi to respond with a kind of ice-cold dismissal that send careers straight to the graveyard. Two different worlds, two different lanes, but the same painful truth running underneath both of them, and we're about to break it all the way down. Let me set the scene for you. On June 6, 2026, Simone Biles, and I'm gonna keep saying her full government name because what she just survived deserves that level of respect, quietly opened her Instagram stories and dropped a photo that froze the entire internet according to page 6. It wasn't a gym selfie. It wasn't a glam shot. It was her arm, covered in hospital wristbands. 3 of them stacked like a chilling little tower of bracelets, the kind you only get when the situation is serious enough that the staff needs every alert color visible at a glance. And the caption underneath? It wasn't cute. It wasn't subtle. She told you all straight up that almost dying wasn't in my bingo card earlier this week per Complex's reporting. The GOAT, the Olympian, the woman whose name is literally engraved on 4 gymnastics elements because no one else on earth can do them. Almost died. I had to put my phone down. Fam. I had to walk away from the screen. Because Simone Biles doesn't share private medical information. Simone Biles is a queen of locking that door. She's been famous since she was a teenager. She's been picked apart by every gymnastics commentator, every Olympic analyst, every troll with a keyboard, and she has consistently kept her health business behind a vault made of titanium. So when SHE, of all people, voluntarily peels back that curtain and posts a hospital wristband to her stories, you need to understand, this wasn't a vibe check. This wasn't a thoughts and prayers play. This was a woman who looked death in the face, blinked first only because death blinked second, and decided she needed the world to know she's still here. And here's the part that makes the whole thing hit even harder. While Simone was laying there with a heart rate monitor beeping next to her, her husband, Jonathan Owens, fresh off signing his 1-year deal with the Indianapolis Colts, confirmed by the team's official announcement, was hundreds of miles away locked into minicamp practice obligations he literally could not skip. So picture this with me. The most decorated gymnast in human history, newly relocated to a city she doesn't fully know yet, laying in a hospital bed with a heart rate monitor screaming at her, alone, while the man she married is on a practice field running drills because his NFL contract demands it. That's not just a health scare. That's a horror movie nobody signed up to star in. Now, while all of that was unfolding, the rap girl section of the internet was having a completely different breakdown. Atlanta's own Akbar V, already known for her chronic case of pick-a-bigger-name-and-swing syndrome, decided this was a perfect moment to take Cardi B's Pretty and Petty instrumental, the same beat that was originally taking aim at BIA on Cardi's My The Drama album as Broken Down by Vibe, and try to flip it into her own disc called You Ain't Pretty. Brew. Let that sink in for 1 second. She took Cardi's beat, that Cardi paid for, Cardi crafted, Cardi turned into a top 40 wave and tried to use as ammunition against Cardi. Akbar really thought stealing somebody else's instrumental counted as a verse. That's not strategy. That's not chess. That's not even checkers. That's a cry for help disguised as a SoundCloud upload. The internet caught fire instantly. Cardi responded. Akbar responded to the response. Receipts came flying out of every direction like somebody opened a pinata full of screenshots. And the deceased mom angle resurfaced. Yeah, that angle, the one neither of them should have ever touched. We're about to walk you through every single piece of this, line by line, screenshot by screenshot, because the receipts are loud and they are telling a story the mainstream press isn't ready to tell. Strap in. Now let's look at the receipts. Let's start with Simone, because this one shook me to my actual core. I'm not exaggerating. I had to read her post 3 times before my brain even registered what she was telling us. In her Instagram story posted on June 6, 2026, Simone wrote, and I'm quoting her word for word, no paraphrasing, no embellishment. I'm not one to normally share things like this because I value privacy in today's age, but almost dying wasn't in my bingo card earlier this week, as captured by Complex's full report on the incident. Just sit with that for 1 second. The most decorated gymnast in history, the woman who pulled out of Tokyo to protect her mental health and got dragged across every news network for it, the woman who came back and buried her doubters at Paris. That's Simone, voluntarily telling you're almost dying wasn't on her bingo card. When I read that sentence, I felt my chest get heavy, because she didn't say I had a scare. She didn't say I was under the weather. She said almost dying. That's not gymnast language. That's not athlete language. That's the language of a person who looked into a void and somehow walked back out. And she kept going. The next line she dropped, this was one of, if not the scariest experience of my life, especially since Jonathan was in Indy for practice, as confirmed by Page 6 coverage of her statement. Yo, the part about Jonathan being gone, that hit me different, because Simone has lived a public life since she was 16 years old. She's been at the Olympics under pressure that would crush a normal human. She's testified before Congress about Larry Nassar. She's been through gymnastic scandals, family drama, mental health crises played out on world television. And this, being alone in a hospital while her husband couldn't get to her, is what she's calling the scariest experience of her life. That tells you exactly how serious this was. The fear in that sentence isn't just about the medical emergency. It's about the loneliness. It's about realizing in real time that for the first time in her life, none of her medals, none of her accolades, none of her trophies could buy her the one thing she needed in that moment, her husband holding her hand. Then she dropped the visual that turned my whole stomach. A second photo, this one showing a heart rate monitor in the bed reading 126 BPM, with a flat little caption underneath that just said, "I'll be here," as detailed by NBC News breakdown of her post. Just laying there, no drama in the caption, no begging for attention, just 3 words, "I'll be here." Listen, and this is a detail that every mainstream outlet gloss right over. For an elite Olympian, a resting heart rate of 30 to 40 BPM is considered normal. Their cardiovascular systems are so efficient their hearts barely have to work at rest. So when Simone Biles is laying flat in a hospital bed with her heart monitor reading 126, that isn't elevated. That's 3 times her baseline. That's a 5-alarm fire. That's the kind of resting heart rate that gets doctors paged at 3 a.m. And she just captioned it, "I'll be here," like it was a Tuesday. The composure on this woman is unholy. She also went on X to shut down the speculation before it could even cook properly. She confirmed publicly that this was a health issue, not an accident, not a stunt, not a vibe, a medical emergency. Full stop. End of conversation. And by clarifying that herself, she did something brilliant. She gave the public just enough information to silence the conspiracy theorists without owing anybody her medical chart. Smart. Strategic. Pure Simone. Now let's pivot to the Cardi situation, because it's a completely different flavor of drama, and I need you all to brace yourself for what's about to come out of Belkless Almonzo's mouth. Cardi B, and I'm using her government name because she earned every syllable, posted a video reacting to Akbar's diss attempt, and I'm gonna quote her bar for bar so you'll feel the full weight. "You got to let that hate go." You want to know why? Because the way I'm putting things together, the way I'm planning things out, I'm going to keep on winning. And you're literally going to die watching me win over and over and over again, as documented in the viral clip making the rounds on Instagram. When I heard that line, I had to rewind it 3 times. You're going to die watching me win. Cardi didn't even need a beat for that. Cardi didn't need a producer. Cardi didn't need 16 bars. That single sentence was a casket closing, dirt shoveling, headstone engraving fatality. That wasn't a rap response. That was a wisdom drop wrapped in a death certificate. And she kept going, and this part is even colder. I might have some bad days that you might get a low-key out of, but I'm never going to fall. I promise you I'm not your enemy. Cause I don't give a f asterisk 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 about you per the same widely circulated reaction video. Bro, B-R-O. I don't give a f asterisk 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 about you. Delivered with the calmest, most measured voice on the planet. That's not anger. That's not pettiness. That's the voice of a woman who has zero emotional investment in the conversation she's having. And in the rap girl ecosystem, that kind of dismissal isn't shade. That's a career ender. Because the worst thing you can do to somebody who built their entire strategy around your name is refuse to register that they exist. Cardi didn't just decline the smoke. She refused to acknowledge there was a fire. Then Akbar V tried to clap back, and this is where the whole thing went from rap beef to genuine somebody check on her territory. In her own message, Akbar fired off, and I'm quoting directly, "Cardi, I don't hate you. I just don't F with you. I have never been a hater. You must forgot what you did. Released a video of me giving my ex-boyfriend TJ head. Got somebody to attack me in a club and mock my deceased mom, as a leaked screenshot that spread across hot new hip-hop showed." Buries said, "What?" When I read that, I had to do a triple take. This is not a diss in the mall. This isn't a freestyle. This is a 911 call disguised as a tweet. She's bringing up an alleged sex tape leak, an alleged club attack, and a deceased mother all in a single breath like that a normal sequence of accusations to make. There is nothing about that message that reads like a rap battle. That reads like emotional trauma being broadcast in real time with no editor and no friend telling her to delete it. Akbar then added, "I ate you the F up in that freestyle. Continue to win cause none of y'all can stop Jesus Christ from blessing me," as Vibe reported in their breakdown of her response. Nah, you can't quote scripture in one breath and talk about how you ate somebody up in the next breath and expect the public to take you seriously as a spiritual person or as a rapper. That line right there, that's exactly where she lost a plot, lost a war, and lost whatever sliver of public support she had walking into this. You don't tag in Jesus Christ as your hype man when the audio of you trying to rap is publicly available for fact-checking. And speaking of the audio, let's talk about the bar itself. Her actual diss lyric was, "You ain't pretty, you just petty as fuck. I had to take this beat cause a bitch ain't do enough," as the Instagram reel of the recording proves. That bar was so off the beat it sounded like a karaoke malfunction at a corporate Christmas party. Like, I'm being serious. The cadence didn't lock in, the breath control was non-existent, and the timing was somewhere between half a measure and a full bar late. If you played it side by side with Cardi's original Pretty and Petty Pocket, you would understand instantly why Cardi felt no pressure to even mention her name. The technical deficit was that loud. Now let's connect the dots. Here's what nobody is putting together, and this is a part where I need you to lean in because the timeline tells a story the surface coverage refuses to touch. That Instagram post from Simone, it didn't go up on a random Tuesday. It went up on June 6th, the exact day Jonathan Owens was locked into Indianapolis Colts minicamp obligations, in a city the couple just relocated to after Owens signed his one-year deal with the team back in March, as the Colts' official announcement laid out in detail. So when you map this out properly, Simone wasn't just hospitalized. She was hospitalized in a brand new city, away from her Houston-based support system, away from the doctors she'd built relationships with, away from the family she normally leans on, with her husband bound by an NFL practice schedule he literally cannot skip without putting his roster spot at risk. The Colts don't care that your wife is in the hospital. They care about representatives, depth chart, and preseason evaluation. That's the brutal math of an NFL one-year deal. And that is the part the headlines gloss completely over. They almost died, quote, got the clicks. But the geographic isolation, the loneliness, the fact that she was a stranger in a new town with her main support stuck on a practice field, that's what made this scarier than anything she's faced before. Tokyo 2021, she had a family. The Larry Nassar testimony, she had her teammates. This time, she had a heart rate monitor and a wristband. That's it. The timing of the story dropping is even more loaded. It hit just days before the NFL summer practice cycle ramps into full gear, meaning Jonathan is about to be even less available for the next several weeks, not more. That's why Simone's post hit the way it did. She wasn't just sharing a health update. She was, in the most dignified Simone Biles way possible, letting people know she's about to be navigating recovery while her primary partner is contractual unavailable. Read between the lines. Fam. The absence in that sentence about Jonathan was deafening. Now flip the deck completely and look at the Cardi side of the timeline. Her cool, dismissive, I don't give a f asterisk about you video, dropped while she is in the absolute middle of the most successful arena run of her career, the Little Miss Drama Tour, in support of her Am I the Drama album, which has been packing venues from Palm Desert to Baltimore as Pitchfork's tour announcement broke down. This is Cardi at the peak of her live performance era. Her merch tables are selling out venue by venue. Her vocals are getting praised by people who used to drag her. Her album debuted strong. Her singles are charting, and her cultural capital is at an all-time high. Akbar tried to mock her by saying Cardi ain't worried about no commas. Brew, Cardi is literally moving commas around in real time because the tour grosses keep climbing. Akbar picked the absolute worst possible moment to swing. You do not start a fight with a woman whose tour buses are decorated with her own face and whose calendar is full of arena dates booked 9 months out. That's like throwing a rock at a freight train. The train isn't going to stop. The train doesn't even feel it. The train keeps going. And you're left holding the rock. Then there's the Akbar feud pattern, because we have to address it. Her track record of beef? Wild. First it was Lizzo over baby daddy drama. Then it was Trina over coconut water, of all things on earth. Then it was Lato over 21 Savage Allegiance, as reported by Vibe in their wider context piece on her feuds. Coconut water. Y'all. Coconut. Water. Now she's added Cardi B to the list. This is a serial pattern, not a one-off. Same playbook every single time. Pick a bigger name. Throw a haymaker. Ride the algorithm spike for 3 days. Repeat. Any halfway competent strategist would have noticed the diminishing returns by now. The engagement on each new beef is smaller than the last. The responses from the bigger names are getting more dismissive. And the public's appetite for Akbar started another fight stories is shrinking. But she's not running a strategy. She's running a slot machine. And eventually every gambler runs out of quarters. And here's the part that makes the whole thing dirtier than it needed to be. The deceased mom argument? That doesn't come from nowhere. That goes all the way back to a prior round of beef where alleged text between the two of them leaked online, and the conversation got into family territory neither side should have ever touched but hot new hip-hop's reporting on the leaked exchange. The fact that Akbar dragged her own late mother back into the conversation in 2026 isn't a power move. It's the move of someone desperate for a viral moment, willing to weaponize her own grief if it spikes engagement for 36 hours. That's not strategy. That's heartbreak with a hashtag attached. And it's painful to watch. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. Let's get under a microscope now, because this is where the receipts get technical. Start with Simone's caption. Zoom all the way in on ONE specific word. Bingo! She didn't say wasn't on my list. She didn't say didn't expect this. She didn't say wasn't planned. She said bingo card. That word choice is loaded with meaning. Bingo card is a language of dark internet humor, the kind of phrase people reach for when something absolutely insane happens after a long string of already insane things. It's the verbal shrug of a person who has been processing too much for too long. When Simone reaches for bingo card instead of straightforward language, she's signaling, consciously or not, that this medical emergency is just the latest entry in a year of unrelenting waves. That single word tells me her year has been way heavier than the public knows. And then there's the wristband detail. Did anybody actually look at the photo? Because if you zoom in on her arm, there's a red wristband visible in the stack, as page 6 image of the post clearly shows. And in standardized U.S. hospital protocol, a red bracelet specifically indicates an allergy alert, meaning something was administered or attempted to be administered, and her body reacted in a way that flagged her as high risk on the spot. That's not a she felt sick wristband. That's a the staff needs to know what not to give her a wristband. That single visual detail completely changes the medical picture. This was not a minor episode. This was an allergic or anaphylactic level event significant enough that the hospital marked her as a tagged risk patient for every shift change. Nobody in the mainstream press caught that. Nobody. Now zoom into ONE specific bar Cardi's response. You're literally going to die watching me win. Not you'll regret it. Not I'll get even. Not watch me. She used the word die. And that's important, because that's the same emotional vocabulary Akbar reached for when she bragged she ate you the F up. Both women use violence language. The difference is that Akbar said it loud and miss. Cardi said it soft and connected. Cardi mirrored Akbar's own energy and weaponized it without raising her voice a single decibel. That's not improved. That's not freestyle. That's surgical. That's a woman who has been in this game long enough to know that the calmest voice in the room is always the most dangerous. And Akbar's camp really didn't catch that detail? That's embarrassing on a masterclass level. Now zoom into Akbar's actual bar one more time. I had to take this beat cause a bitch ain't do enough. That one line is a self-snitch of historic proportions. She literally admitted, on the record, that she had nothing original, that she had to borrow the canvas from the woman she's dissing. Read that bar again. Slowly. I had to take this beat. Had to. As in, I lacked the resources, the production, the originality, or the funding to come up with my own. So I'm using yours. As ammunition. Against you. That's like robbing somebody's house and then trying to evict them from it. Akbar thought that line was a flex, a clever little wink to the audience. Nah, that was a confession disguised as a punchline. If she had even half an ear for bars, she would have caught it before she pressed upload. And one more detail nobody's catching, and this is the one that should have ended the whole conversation. Cardi's response video had no name in it. 0. She never said Akbar. Not once. She never used a single identifying word. She talked a generic you. And that's a masterclass power move called subliminal by omission. By refusing to name her opponent, Cardi denied Akbar the one thing the diss was literally engineered to capture. SEO juice. Search traffic. Algorithm boost. Akbar's whole upload strategy depended on Cardi saying her name out loud so that Akbar V and Cardi B would start trending together. Cardi recognized the trap, sidestepped it cleanly, and forced Akbar to fight for relevance in a Google search he could no longer rig. That's chess, fam. That's 6 moves ahead. And Akbar is still trying to figure out how the pieces move. Now let's cross-reference how the major outlets frame both stories, because the spin tells you everything about who's chasing clicks versus who's actually paying attention. For Simone, USA Today framed her post as a recovery update, essentially subpedaling the severity of what she described. That's a strange editorial choice given that the woman literally used the words almost dying. NBC News, on the other hand, took it seriously. They led their entire story with an almost die quote and treated it as a near-fatal emergency it actually was as detailed in NBC's coverage. 2 outlets, same wristband photo, completely different temperature coverage. Then Houston's KHAU localized the angle around her Houston roots and went with a hometown hero scare route, which is fine but also kind of underplays the Indianapolis relocation factor that makes the whole story heavier. And now some corners of the internet are saying Simone is being dramatic for sympathy points. Nah, absolutely not. Because remember that 126 BPM heart rate detail we broke down? That's not drama. That's not theatrics. That's a vital sign reading printed out by a piece of medical equipment that does not care about Instagram engagement. Numbers don't lie. The receipts don't lie. The wristbands don't lie. And anybody trying to spin this as a clout play is exposing themselves as someone who has never seen the inside of a hospital. For the Cardi versus Akbar situation, the coverage was equally split but for different reasons. XXL framed it as beef erupts, putting both women on roughly equal footing, focusing on the Akbar text leaks and the deceased mom angle, treating it like a real rap rivalry. Hot New Hip Hop framed it as Akbar wanting Cardi and Lato to respond, basically painting Akbar as a one begging for engagement, which is honestly the most accurate frame in my opinion as a HNHH headline made clear. Vibe spun it as a wider female rap politics piece, lumping it in with the Lato and Nicki conversations and turning it into a think piece about the genre. Each frame tells you what each outlet thinks the actual story is, and the most accurate frame, hands down, is Hot New Hip Hop's. This wasn't a beef. This was a woman begging to be acknowledged. Some Akbar defenders are out here claiming the Pretty and Petty remix actually had bars, but those are the same people who couldn't tell the bar was offbeat by half a measure. The media can try to spin this for Akbar however they want, but the receipts, the audio, the timing, the lyrics, the missed pocket, don't lie. Now here's what nobody is saying. All right, mics down, receipts laid out. Now let's get into the part of this breakdown that's gonna ruffle some feathers, because what I'm about to say is the truth that mainstream coverage won't touch. The mainstream is treating these as 2 completely separate stories. Simone's health crisis on one side of the room, Cardi versus Akbar on the other side. Pop culture writers are filing them under different verticals. Sports for one, hip-hop for the other. But here's what they won't tell you, and what the algorithm definitely won't surface for you. Both of these stories are about the exact same thing. The brutal, suffocating, generationally engineered cost of being a black woman at the top of her field, and the calculated, profitable, well-documented way the industry and the algorithm both feed on her potential downfall. Look at the cultural pattern. Really look at it. We have built an entire media economy in this country that profits more when a powerful black woman is in distress than when she is thriving. Simone wins a gold medal, moderate engagement, a few headlines, a Wheaties box mention. Simone almost dies, global trending topic for 72 hours straight. Every outlet running breaking news banners. Podcasters recutting old footage for reaction content. Cardi sells out an entire arena tour, breaking attendance records city by city. Minor headlines, a pitchfork blurb, maybe a quote in Billboard. Cardi gets dissed by a lower-tier artist over a borrowed beat. Algorithmic explosion. TikTok edits stacking up by the hour, every gossip page running it for a full news cycle. That is not coincidence. That is not bad luck. That is the business model. The industry needs these women in crisis mode to generate clicks. Their wins don't move the needle the way their wounds do. And that's not a Simone problem or a Cardi problem. That's a system problem. And the Akbars of the world, the proximity chasers who farm their entire careers off lobbing rocks at women bigger than them, they are not the cause of that system. They are the symptom. They are the puppets. The algorithm is a puppet master, and Akbar is just a doll being shaken in front of the camera. That's a truth nobody wants to print. Because if they printed it, it would expose how the entire engagement economy runs on black women's pain. And admitting that out loud will be bad for business. Now let me give you the historical pattern, because this isn't new. This is a CYC. Every single time a top-tier female rapper hits a real cultural peak, Lil' Kim in the late 90s, Foxy Brown around the same era, Nicki Minaj in the 2010s, Cardi B right now, the industry quietly manufactures a challenger who's just famous enough to provoke but never famous enough to actually compete. The goal is not competition. The goal is to drain the champion's energy with 1,000 low-stakes battles, so she has less time, less focus, and less creative gas left in the tank for her actual work. Akbar isn't trying to beat Cardi. She literally can't. The catalogs don't match. The numbers don't match. The vocal training doesn't match. The pen game doesn't match. So what is she trying to do? She's trying to mirror Cardi. Borrow her beats. Borrow her energy. Borrow her press cycles. That's the same exact playbook that ended careers a decade ago, and we are watching it run in real time again. We have seen this movie before. We know how it ends. Akbar is on the losing side of history, repeating mistakes that took down artists with twice her catalog and 3 times her audience. And she still won't put the controller down. Now flip it back to Simone, because the dynamic is identical, just dressed in different clothes. The gymnastics world has built its entire commercial empire on the bodies of black girls, quietly grinding them down, mile after mile, vault after vault, marketing their performances as magical while ignoring the medical bills, the joint damage, the eating disorders, the mental health crises. When Simone pulled out at Tokyo to protect herself, half the country called her weak. The other half called her a quitter. When she came back at Paris and absolutely dominated, those same critics rewrote their entire stance overnight and called her unbeatable. Now she's posting from a hospital bed with a heart rate 3 times her resting normal, and certain corners of the internet are already whispering that it's a stunt for attention. That is the playbook. Build her up, drain her dry, blame her when she breaks, erase the system that broke her, rinse, repeat. The same culture that crowned Simone the GOAT is the exact same culture that left her alone in a hospital bed in a brand new city with a 126 BPM resting heart rate, while her husband was contractually unable to be at her bedside. And then it had the audacity to question whether her hospital wristband was real. We created a country that demands miracles from black women's bodies and then accuses them of lying when those bodies finally tap out. Here's a connection between these two stories that the headlines refuse to make explicit. Cardi's "You Can Die Watching Me Win" wasn't just shade. It wasn't just a clever bar. It was a black woman's survival philosophy compressed into 11 words. The ONLY way to actually win in this game. and I mean win, not just survive, is to refuse to engage with the energy designed to destroy you. You cannot dance with the algorithm on its terms, because the algorithm doesn't care if you live or die, it just cares about your engagement rate. So you have to refuse a dance. You have to keep moving. You have to keep building. And you have to let the haters watch you do it until they're tired. Simone is learning that lesson through her body, through 126 BPM heart rate readings, through hospital wristbands, through the painful realization that her physical limits have been reached. Cardi already learned it through her career, through years of being doubted, dragged, picked apart, predicted to flop, and then watching her album sell anyway. And Akbar represents the OLD energy, the 2010s blog era energy, the proximity chasing, beef baiting, attention-grabbing model that the culture is finally, mercifully, done with. She's playing checkers while Cardi is playing chess. Every move Akbar makes is predictable, and that predictability is exactly why she's already lost. You cannot win when your opponent has read your playbook, signed it, and used it as a coaster. The Pretty and Petty remix wasn't a diss track. It was a job application, a resume, a please notice me letter dressed up in a 16-bar costume. And it got rejected before it was even read. And the silence from Cardi? That's the rejection letter. No callback. No interview. No, we'll keep you on file. Just silence. Akbar's whole public persona at this point is manufactured beef bait, built brick by brick on the foundation of who she can provoke into responding, and it's falling apart in real time because the people she's targeting have figured out the trick. Don't say her name. Don't acknowledge her track. Don't repost a screenshot. Starve the algorithm of the oxygen it needs. That's the unspoken pact the top-tier women in this game are making with each other. And it's working. That is the truth they will not tell you. So what happens next? All right, predictions time. Let me put my whole reputation on the line and tell you exactly what I see coming over the next 30 to 90 days for both of these stories. And I'm telling you right now, when these predictions hit, remember where you heard them first. Simone Biles, the likely path. Here's what is most likely to happen with Simone. Within the next 2 to 3 weeks, once a medical team officially clears her to discuss specifics in public, she's going to release a more formal, fully considered statement. It's not going to be another Instagram story. It's going to be a longer form piece, maybe a People magazine sit-down, maybe a Players Tribune-style essay, maybe even a documentary tease. And when that statement drops, watch closely, because it's going to reframe the entire national conversation around athlete healthcare, specifically for black female athletes whose pain has historically been dismissed by the medical establishment. We've already got studies showing that black women report medical pain that goes underdiagnosed at higher rates than any other demographic in American medicine. Simone Biles being open about her own emergency is going to drag that statistic into the spotlight in a way no academic study ever could. Once she speaks, the conversation shifts. Period. And here's the secondary effect. The Colts organization is going to come under massive public pressure to adjust Jonathan Owens' practice schedule for medical emergencies involving his immediate family. The team won't admit they're reacting to public pressure. The league will pretend it's their own idea. But mark my words, there's going to be a spouse emergency leave policy conversation kicked up within the next NFL labor cycle, and the seed of that conversation will trace right back to Simone's June 6 post. This moment is going to spark a policy conversation she never asked to lead, but that her position uniquely qualified her to start. And the same doubters who said she was milking it for sympathy, they are going to look desperate screaming into the void once the actual medical details come out. Their credibility is going to evaporate in real time. But here's the alternate path, and it's equally powerful in a different way. If Simone decides to stay private about the specifics, that also works completely in her favor. She has already shown the wristband. She has already shown the heart rate. She has already confirmed it was a health issue and not an accident. She has given just enough information to silence the conspiracy theorists without owing the public a medical chart. If that's a play she runs, watch the same critics try to escalate and demand more details. And watch them get nothing. The receipts trickle. The interviews stay rare. The information stays controlled. And Simone reminds everybody once again that she does not owe you, me, or the algorithm a single second more than she has already given. We have seen what Simone does to her doubters before. The cycle of doubt her then eat your words is about to run again, and the doubters do not stand a chance. They didn't beat her after Tokyo. They didn't beat her at Paris. They are not about to beat her now. She has buried smarter critics than the ones lined up against her this week. This forecast is essentially a formality at this point. Cardi versus Akbar, the likely endgame. For the Cardi versus Akbar situation, here is the most likely scenario, and I'm calling it now. Cardi is not. Let me say it louder for the people in the back. Cardi is not getting the boo for Akbar. Period. End of discussion. She is going to keep the Little Miss Drama tour rolling through every arena on the schedule, sell out every merch table, post tour clips for her fans, drop maybe one more vague tweet if she's feeling petty, and let Akbar's disattempt die quietly in the algorithm. That's the play. That's always been the play. And when that silence sets in, really sets in, like the third week of nothing, the fourth week of nothing, Akbar is going to look increasingly desperate. She's going to drop a part 2, then a part 3, then a freestyle on a podcast, then a quote tweet about Cardi from a random Instagram live. And every single drop is going to get less engagement than the one before it. That's a diminishing returns curve in real time. The silence from Cardi is going to hurt Akbar more than any diss track Cardi could ever record, because silence denies you the one thing your entire strategy was built on, a response. Without a response, you are just yelling at a closed door. Now, and this is a big if Cardi does decide to respond, Akbar is getting absolutely destroyed. Cardi has receipts that have not seen daylight yet. She has years of saved screenshots, voice notes, and DM threads. Her flow on a real engineered, label-funded, studio mix track versus Akbar's flow on a borrowed instrumental? Those are two different conversations on two different planets. Akbar is not ready for what's coming if Cardi takes this seriously and goes full bar mode. But honestly, Cardi is smarter than that. She is not going to gift Akbar the relevance, because relevance is the only currency Akbar has left, and Cardi has zero interest in tipping the staff at a restaurant she didn't enjoy. The bigger picture, 5 years from now. Now let me zoom all the way out for the final take, because this is a part that matters. 5 years from now, when culture writers and journalists go back to assess the specific week in June 2026, they are going to look at it as a moment two completely different stories, one from gymnastics, one from hip-hop, accidentally reveal the exact same truth about being a top-tier black woman in American entertainment. Simone's story is going to become the case study cited in every sports medicine conference for the next decade about why elite athletes, especially black female athletes, need real, structural healthcare advocacy. Not vibes, not wellness, not yoga sessions in the press box. Actual, structural, contractual healthcare with emergency family provisions. Universities will teach this case. Sports medicine textbooks will reference it. And Simone's name will be on the byline of a policy change she never asked to author. Cardi's response is going to become the textbook template, and I mean textbook, for how to dismantle a clout chaser without breaking a single nail. Future female artists are going to study this video the same way rappers study Pac in big interviews. The calm, the deflection, the refusal to name, the mirroring of violence language without raising her voice, the dismissal master's advice. It's all gonna be in the manual. Cardi just wrote a chapter without even realizing she was writing one. And Akbar is going to be a footnote, a small italicized name in the appendix. The one who tried it. The proximity chaser who picked the wrong year, the wrong woman, and the wrong beat. The culture is moving on without her, and there is genuinely nothing she can do about it. Because the more she fights to stay in the conversation, the more the conversation becomes about how she keeps trying to stay in conversation she was never invited to. Whatever happens over the next 30 days, one thing is already crystal clear. Fem Akbar already lost. Cardi already won. And Simone already won the biggest battle of all just by being alive to tell her she almost wasn't. That's the story. That's the rap. That's the truth they wouldn't tell you. And now you got it straight from me. Stay tuned. Because if these last 72 hours proved anything, it's that the next 72 are about to be even louder. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed uncovering the real story, smash that like button and hit subscribe so you never miss when we expose what everyone else is too scared to say. Ring that bell for notifications. And if you want more truth bombs like this, click on one of these videos next. Trust me, you'll want to see what we found.